Did you know an 18-year-old girl was forced to provide the soundtrack to genocide? Esther Bejarano arrived at Auschwitz in 1943, selected for the women's orchestra because she could play accordion. Every morning she played cheerful marches as prisoners walked to their deaths. When trains arrived packed with new victims, she performed while families were separated forever. The music was meant to keep people calm before the gas chambers. SS officers requested concerts, forcing her to play beautiful melodies surrounded by systematic murder. She survived by making horror sound pleasant. When Soviet forces liberated the camp in 1945, she was still clutching her accordion. The instrument that saved her life had become the soundtrack to humanity's darkest hour. Music meant survival, but at the cost of her soul.